Sunday night. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, and with me, as always, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how are you?
Doing pretty good, thanks, Gary.
It's caroling season, so we're going to be a little bit
a little bit hoarse.
A little bit hoarse there. It's been a long weekend of it's not one thing, it's another. At least everybody's in the same place today. That's a good thing. Vertigo is vertigone. So, knock on wood. Anyways, and also I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. We had a busy week this week. We had 7 games in the NLL. We have news from PLL. We have news from ALL West or ALL Women's. And we also have some ALL games for you. Plus, we're going to have the Wolves Den and we're going to have Wings Nest. My God, it's a regular smorgasbord with everybody here. Before we get rolling, just a reminder to everybody that all of our shows are streamed live across Facebook, also Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and also Instagram Live. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please tell everybody about us. The more, the merrier. Please enjoy all of our affiliates, the Pat Bernard Show, Steel Steps, soccer, football, post-game shows, pre-game shows, CFL shows, as well as a whole host of other shows on the Streampunk Entertainment Network. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab everything on YouTube, whether it's on Streampunk or on our All Across All the Time YouTube page, where you can catch our entire library, as well as interviews, library of shows, retro games, and even more things like press conferences and things like that. So please give it a look. And remember to stay up to date by checking out all of our social media pages. And we are on there regularly. So as it happens, we have it for you. Okay, a little bit of news before we get rolling here. And the first one, many of you know Tommy Beckett. He has been the longtime equipment manager for the Brampton Excelsiors, for the Green Gales, also for the Albany Firewolves, as well as a whole host of many other teams throughout the years. Tommy's battling stage 4 brain cancer. Excuse me. And over here we have Paul St. John from the ALL and Jim Veltman coming to visit him. If you can, please, by all means, drop Tommy a line. He's very receptive to it all, and he returns messages and calls immediately. So he has vowed that he is going to be back for the 2026 season. He is going to kick this thing in the teeth and get moving. So I believe him. If there's a guy who can beat it, it is Tommy. So we wish him the very, very best. Hey, Brian Cole is with us. Brian, how are you? Happy holidays. Brian is beaming because Philadelphia won. Simple. Now let's bring us on to a little retro thing and see if any of you can guess who is in this picture. Mike, I'm going to give you an opportunity just for fun.
Oh boy. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a picture of the Gates. You have Gary on the left and Paul on the right, and their older brother Bob in the center. Thank you to Ryan there from Vintage Lax for that picture. Pretty amazing. I love seeing stuff like that.
Awesome.
All right, a little bit of news here from the PLL. The PLL women have finally, given new locations of where they are. So you have the Boston Guard, you have the Maryland Charm, excuse me, the New York Charging, and the California Palms. And they will be involved in the tournament in February, as well as the teams that are there already from the PLL from the regular season. So this should be a lot of fun doing sixes. So have any of you got the interview on Thursday that I had with Bob DeMarco, the new president of the World Lacrosse group? We talked about why sixes, and interestingly enough, I didn't know this, that the Olympics only have 10,500 athletes for everything in the Olympics. So to carry huge rosters of 24, 30 guys for however many teams they're going to bring into it was just a not happening, as a non-starter. So hence another reason why six is just being another edition of lacrosse, as opposed to replacing it. This is the one that the Olympics wanted, needed, so that it could fit in there. And of course, we're very accommodating when it comes to that to get it in. Simple. So it was a very interesting interview. If you want to go on to my YouTube page at Groob, Groob, the entire interview is there. It was a great interview. We touched on a lot of different topics and a lot of different subjects to do with World Lacrosse, to do with Bob beforehand and his coaching careers and his playing career too. So very, very interesting interview. Great guy, and very accommodating. So, all right, let's keep moving on. Cody Jamieson. He is taking a little bit of a leave pending league approval. Cody Jamieson has been moved to the holdout list due to personal family reasons. Top priority is making sure that Cody and the Jamieson family know the organization is here to support them. Out of respect for Cody, we have no further comment this time. Ask everybody to respect the family's privacy. I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Let him take care of things and then come back when everything is straight. Brian guessed Dan Dawson. Very close. Very close. Alrighty. Onward. We had a couple of milestones. One was actually from the previous week that I just got the graphics during the week. And that was Joey Nardella with 800 NLL faceoff wins. Imagine he would have gotten that last year if he wasn't hurt the year previous. So good to see that. And had about another 20 wins to it this week. So he's well on his way to 900. Dane Smith, 1,100 career points. That's just spectacular. Unbelievable. This guy's getting better with age. Every year he's just that much more dominant. It's just amazing. And any team that has to face Buffalo, how you draw up plans to stop that offense. Well, we saw it this weekend. Also, Josh Byrne with 500 career points. Because remember, when Dane hits a milestone, so does Josh. They do everything together. They both got married this summer together. They both, do everything together. The true idea of best friends. Pretty wild. A couple of signings. Calgary had alluded that their offense was going to be better this week. Josh Sanderson said that and was kind of cryptic. Well, midway through the week, we figured out why. Tyler Bass has signed a 1-year agreement with Roughnecks. Ironically, a lot of the scuttlebutt on the internet was that he saw that they were doing pretty good without him. And he thought while his value was still high, he better get himself signed. Not a bad fiscal responsibility, if you ask me.
Right.
Otherwise, just another guy in the ALL, right?
Exactly.
Also, this was a big one. That Michael Sauer signed with Philadelphia, but this is after Albany traded him for a conditional 5th-round pick. Now, what is the condition? This is where I think Albany is shrewd. If he makes the starting lineup at any given point, that 5th-round pick becomes a 3rd-round pick. So now it becomes a pick that's actually useful to Glenn Clark. If they don't use him, well, nothing gained, nothing lost. 5th-round pick. Usually it takes an act of God to get them into the lineup. So we can see about that. Okay, let's move ourselves over to the ALL and a little bit of news over there. The women were delayed with their draft. In fact, the draft is going to be happening this week, I believe the 17th. So a couple of days from now. And the reason was there's been so much interest in joining the WALL East that they had to come up with a new team. And the Arrows are it. So we now have another ALL women's team, which is great. And of course, the WALL East Division operates out of the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena in Ontario. The East Division introduced a restructured draft system, including an expanded 5th team that saw each registered player for the 2024 season draft onto one of the newly created teams: Sirens, Skyhawks, Blazers, Firebirds, and Cobras. Since transitioning into the role of commissioner of the WALL in 2023 has not only been my privilege, but my honor to represent and support every single one of our ladies with new structure and a refreshed approach while we continue to work toward building the league, said WALL East Commissioner Carrie Wells. We welcome back our players for the 2025 season. It is with great excitement that I announce that we're expanding again and have added a sixth team to the division. The Arrows will make their debut on January 4th, 2025, at our first game day at the ILA. It is not without the deepest appreciation of the coaches, players, and continued support of the lacrosse community that we've seen an overwhelming response to registration for 2025, and I commit to continuing to grow this league for years to come. That's incredible. I love seeing that between the wave of what we saw at the Worlds and that is continuing now with huge interest into the WALL East and West, as well as other programs. Now, if we can get grassroots going at full string, that there be, girls' leagues where they don't have to play with the guys all the time. To me, that's going to be great. You remember we had a question a while back in women's sixes if they're going to be wearing equipment. Well, I can now answer that because I was watching one of the tournaments from way out. No, it looks exactly like field. In fact, I thought it very odd. I was watching the Rock Georgia game, and at halftime they had the field players, and all the guys are in their basically box equipment, helmets and all. And here are the girls running around with their goggles and no equipment whatsoever. And it's like, this looks ridiculous. And the guys have pockets in their sticks, and the girls are playing with tennis rackets. Those would be playing with one of these. It just, and yet the girls were scoring left, right, and center. I still hold true that most of those women have much better shots than the guys, because if they can control that and pick corners with those sticks, give them a box stick and you're going to see some magic. And they're not making me a liar. So, alrighty, while we're on the ALL, we had a few games. The ALL West was canceled. I don't know if it was for weather or what, but they were not around for games this week. However, we had games in the East starting yesterday over at the track, where Toronto got into the winning ways, beating Oswego 13-9. In this game, the big thing, of course, was Toronto's defense was sensational. They really never let Oswego get more than 2 goals at any given time. There was never any runs in the game. So they were able to go in with Parker Viper and Patrick Thompson leading the way for the Monarchs offense. They win 13-9. The second of the 3 games happened the early game this afternoon, and Whitby beat Paris 20-12, and they just look like they never left off from last year winning the championship. They looked even better in this week. 11 different scorers in the game, led by Devin Pfeiffer and Leon Osborne, as well as Brady Kiernan. Lucas Coot had another strong game in goal as well. So really, they are the team to beat still. The last game of the day was Oshawa versus Six Nations, and Six Nations was finally able to put together a 60-minute game. They beat the Outlaws 18-13. Now, where they normally fell apart would be in the last few minutes of the game, and with 5 minutes to go, they were up 13-12. And unlike some of their MOs in last year and week 1, they didn't fold up like a cheap suit. They pushed the pedal to the metal, scoring 5 of the last 6 goals in the game, winning 18-13. So Dusty Hill was spectacular in net for the Snipers, and let's hope that this is going to be a trend for them. Alrighty. Like I say, in the ALL West, both games were postponed. So up next week, Oshawa is in Brampton on Friday. Peterborough is playing Paris on Saturday. And Toronto, that's it. That's it for just 2 games next week. Christmas week, and there's none in the West. So, alrighty, let's keep rolling here. Eduardo's back.
Hey, great news.
Eduardo. Yeah, that's awesome.
You got an article for us. Great to hear. Nice. Well, Mike, you're looking in your email.
Yep.
Check your email, yeah.
Alrighty. Before we get into the blood and guts of the week in the NLL, of course, we have the ever wonderful Pick'ems. And, well,
We're looking better.
I
Gary.
have a
We're looking
bone to
better.
pick when Caden comes on this show
Yeah.
because I was well on my way to my perfect 7-0 until the Dane Dobie effect took over.
Mike, you're above 500.
Mike,
Hey.
you're above 500.
Shh.
Shawn and I are tied up at 10-7. Mike is 9-8. I know you all think it's supposed to say 8 and 9, but really I double checked the math twice. And it is not. Mike is actually above 500.
Just twice, eh?
Just like-
Well, that was just in the last 2 hours. But Caden is sitting at 7-10, and Pat is running up the rear right now at 6-11. Ironically, and I will give him the gears on this one too. He didn't pick Philadelphia to win this week.
Pat. Pat.
Yes. Yes. I didn't pick Toronto, and I was almost made a liar there. And I believe I should have been made a liar. But anyways, that's neither hither nor yon. We open up our fun over in, Buffalo goes into Ottawa and comes away with an 18-7 victory. Now, again, in this game, of course, Dane Smith and Josh Byrne had their milestones. But, the funny thing is that Matt Vince was spectacular at the start. And these guys in Ottawa just gripped their sticks harder and tighter all game long. And, things that would maybe have gone in the week previous, they just were going every which way, high, wide, because they were getting frustrated. And that's the Matt Vince effect. And Buffalo, that defense, which pulls down onto the goal line, so you have 3 goalies at any given time, that was in full effect as well. And they're still athletic enough that they can get out and block shooting lanes. So look out. I'm seeing early playoff stuff here in week 2, week 3. This is frightening. As well as, of course, that ever popular Buffalo get on a run and just go to town. And that doesn't include, I think the 2 goals that Chase Fraser had called back and a few other things that went on. But Jesus, they were scoring from everywhere. And Dane Smith was involved in almost everything. It's wild to watch.
Dane Smith is like a cheat code right now.
It doesn't matter. The funny thing was he scored 1 goal or he scored a couple of goals, but one of the goals, he had nobody to pass it to. So he just fired it on the net and scored. And on his way to the bench, he was laughing, going, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You're rolling well when stuff like that happens.
Just on another level right now. It's just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. And Josh Byrne the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He can fire these little flip passes and, these skip passes back and forth. And away you go. And how do you defend? Because you defend against those two, Kluche scoring from the side. You defend against that, the bulldozer and Nanakokis in front. You defend against that. You got a howitzer coming from the left side with Fraser. And it goes on and on and on. And if that doesn't hit you, the transition game gets you. And if you're going to try and play rough, well, hey, they have that too. Between Nick Weiss and Steve Priolo, they'll be happy to dance with you. So it was a long night at the office for Ottawa. A little bit disconcerting that the fan structure wasn't nearly as big as it was when, of course, when Toronto was in town. But, it is a week and a half to Christmas, right? So I take all these attendance things with a grain of salt. But, yep, Buffalo is looking in midseason form, and beware league. They're, 2-0, look good in both games, had the same MO, as we've seen in the past. You know, in this case, they were a little bit more ahead at the half, but again, full throttle come into the second half and really didn't release until the end of the game. So they're not going to take their foot off your throat when they think you're out of air. They're going to do it when their foot hits the floor. So, three-peat in the cards. It's very possible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if they can stay healthy, and you know the funny thing is something we don't usually see in the last few minutes of the game. They pulled Matt Vince and put Steve Orleman in. Well, they're going to do that. You know, throughout the year, that's going to save them a lot. First of all, unnecessary hits when the game's out of reach on the Matt Vince. Secondly, to give him a little bit of rest here and a little bit of rest there. And if Orleman is doing enough of a job, you might even see Vince, you know, counting to 5, pulling the door every now and again. And then look out. If he's rested and the rest of the team is healthy, they still have quite a lineup. So it's going to be very interesting. But, you know, the team that was really the one that got me and my ire up watching some of this stuff. And, of course, it was during an alumni thing. It was the Philadelphia Wings. And, of course, we have Pat Bernard with us in the Wings nest. And, Pat, I got something for you. Since it is alumni week, we might as well go back to the old logos.
So
Bring it out. I like it.
I won't be putting on a new logo just yet. That's sitting over there.
Yes.
But there you go. The Philadelphia Wings. Before the game was with all the alumni. Guys like Dallas Elliott made a trip in. Very good to see everybody in there. And they thought it would be motivational for the team. And boy, oh boy, was it ever. And our number 1 pick looks like he's found his way. Talk to me, Pat. Talk to me.
Well, listen, gentlemen, first of all, before I get started, I got a little bone to pick with all 3 of you gentlemen. What happened up there in Ottawa? What happened? Did someone get a little bit of a went to the woodshed? Did Buffalo take one Ottawa team to the woodshed? Was Higgy in between the pipe? Did he have to get a bell across the bout? You know what happened out there? No. But listen,
he got the hook. Yes, he got the hook.
Yeah, because you know why? In Philly land, I've seen this. This is beautiful to me. We don't have those problems no more. You know, I'm sorry, Higgy. Adios, amigos. You know, we had what you call a good time finally. You know, 19 goals. I couldn't remember the last time I saw that from this Wings team. You know, they are so fundamentally sound. 2 weeks ago, the problem was the team was just gelling. I said here on the broadcasting, all it's going to take is a little bit of time to grow, and the growing pains. All that was going to happen during the course of the season. The best thing could have happened was the bye, because now with the bye, this team was gelling on all. You know, this team was clicking on all cylinders. I mean, Blaze Roden sets the tone of the game, gets himself 4 goals. You had Brandon O'Neill got himself 4 goals, and he was a monster. He was a playmaker. He was just – I saw him on 2-1 defenders, and he was just cutting through. You could throw the whole house at him, and the Desert Dogs just did not have an answer for this kid. I mean, this was a really good, solid pickup. You had Joe Resiterance, you know, with 3 goals, you know, being quite the facilitator, holding Cantoni with 1 goal with 9 assists. I mean, this team was just clicking on both sides of the ball. I mean, and on defense, they were shutting things down. They made things hard for the Desert Dogs to do anything. And when you look at this team, though, I mean, how undisciplined are the Desert Dogs right now? 5 trips to the penalty box. Philly gets 4 out of 5 goals on penalty. I mean, so sweet right now with this Philadelphia Wings team. I mean, everybody was clicking. And again, Phil Caputo finding his role with this team, gets himself a couple goals and assists. So it was really, really nice to see.
Right. Now, again, I got to admit the Wings looked really good. But again, before we start raising the banner, it was Las Vegas. right?
Yes. I didn't want to. Listen. This is the get right game again. This is the
You
kind
got
of
them
game.
again next week, so you can get right.
Yes, we could run it back. We could run this thing back. We took the Desert Dogs. They can't survive in the cold here in Philly. Now we go out there. We can run it back. All good things could happen with this team. I'm curious to see. Like I was talking to another beat reporter. What's this team going to look like against the top tier teams, the Buffaloes and all those guys? But that's going to remain to be seen.
Well, Kyle, I can speak for myself and say I was one of them.
No.
No, actually, I didn't.
It's a no from me, but
Yeah. But so again, what I could take away from this team on both sides of the ball is really, really sharp offense, good stuff on both. The offense was clicking all cylinders. You had everyone, doing a role. They were again leaving spots, and this team was creating their own shot. So again, I know it's the Desert Dogs. I know this team's 0-3 right now. This team could be 0-4 by Friday. The Philly look like things are turning up for this team.
Absolutely. The crowd. Now we only had 6,000 in there, but we had 6,000 very loud people in there.
It was a pat. It was so they drew 6,000, a little bit more than 6,000 again, but they were roaring. And this, what was the major story? Can this team even get a home win? I mean, only one home win last year, but you kind of answer the bell a little bit. Again, 19 goals, almost cracking your record, getting put up 20. The only negative that I took away from the game was the goaltending, and not on paper he did. But when you look at him and watch him visually and seeing that he reacts a little slowly to goals that come to secondary goals. So again, if he wants to get like a loose change on the ground, he's kind of slow to go pick that up. So, but that's the only knock I got on Nebu. But other than that, I mean, I'm not complaining about this team. And from what I saw, again, this is what Paul Day needed. Paul Day. Less is more. He revamped this team. He scratched. He built it up now. So things that we were supposed to see from this team are starting to come in the clip.
Well, yeah, and you can also throw that American flag up there because Joe Resiteritz, 3 goals, 8 assists.
Yes,
absolutely. As well as, of course, Brendan O'Neill with 4 goals. So Blaze Reardon, 4 goals, 2 assists. Guys there are starting to gel together.
Guys were in the right places at the right time. Down low, shooting from distance, cutting to the net. Again, what a way to set the tone at home, making a statement. Again, this is a look. It could be the Desert Dogs look like they're going to be a bottom feeder team, but it's okay because these are the get right games, get you ready for what I'm looking at, a rush team that's going to probably be problems. So we got to get ready to gear up for that come down the end of December.
Right. Well, here's another thing that I can give kudos to that you probably were moaning and groaning about last year quite a bit is the defense, Philadelphia defense. You guys shut down Jonathan Domville. He had 1 goal, 3 assists. You guys shut down Jack Hanna, who is the next big thing, had a goal and an assist. Casey Jackson is the only one who really was a bit of a thorn in the side with 2 goals and 3 assists. Adam Poitras, he had 2 goals, 2 assists as well. But really, all of the firepower that we're hearing about that the Desert Dogs were able to put together, and it really didn't. The game of runs didn't really work for them. It didn't really happen because the defense was there enough to disrupt their flow.
Yeah, and what I saw was, again, this team the defense could do whatever you want. They can, when it looks like they're just guarding the perimeter, they can shut down the lane. So it makes it tough. It makes the opposing defense, made the Desert Dogs, it made it tough for them to try and score goals on last night. They had struggled trying to find the back of net, and Philly did, like I said, did find the job just shutting down the lane, shutting down scoring opportunities. Played a lot of man-to-man coverages. What I saw out there, I mean, so again, for them to move that rock, it was tough for them to do.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing I'll add is, holding the Desert Dogs again under 13 goals. It's a 37 straight game where they failed to reach.
Especially,
So
0 in the second quarter, especially. I mean, you put 0 spot up.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
winning the games.
And I can't remember this Philly team holding an opponent under 10 points. I mean, for bulk of this team, a bulk of this game, that's what they did. Again, you walked out with a 19-10 win. I feel really, really happy with that. And every quarter, Philly scored first. That never happened. That was impossible for this team to do. So, everyone in Philly is kind of relaxing right now. We can all breathe. No one's sphincters tighten. We're all feeling pretty good. So, but,
same mood with 47 saves as well. So you're looking at a pretty solid performance from him.
Yeah. And like I said, he looked pretty good. Again, a little slow getting to the responses. But other than that, he played phenomenal between the pipes. I mean, so with Paul Day bringing in those guys from Panther City, getting bulk of those guys that kind of contribute. Again, key for this team chemistry. Learn off one another. Phil Caputo now getting a role, filling his spots and got 2 goals and 2 assists. Holden Gattoli being a facilitator out there with 9 assists. Joe Russell-Terrence with 8 assists. So, I mean, guys kind of knowing their roles right now. And again, way to get a big home win against the Desert Dogs. You can run this back. Get a couple wins now before you face, like I said, the rush at the end of the month.
Right. Well, Pat, we're looking forward to seeing you glow again next week.
Oh,
man,
I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, listen. When was the last time you saw me come on to this show not crying? I think this is a first.
Yeah,
I don't have a bag over my head.
True. You're not throwing your headset anywhere and nothing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually crying and moping and tell you how much I can't stand Higgins and all these other things, but I don't have those problems no more.
So true. The meek Pat Bernard.
Yes, this is
meek.
Hey, Aaron, I got to ask you, are we trading places here? I mean, you're 0-2 right now. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, what's going on?
I'm 0-3.
0-3. I got plenty. I got plenty of guys.
Yeah, take 0-2.
0-2 would have been a great thing. 0-3 is a little bit, but we'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get.
Yes. Well, listen, guys. Wings, let's go Wings. Run it back this Friday night, and guys, I'm going to do a Wings post-game show for you guys. So I know it's going to be like 11 o'clock at night, or it might be midnight, but I'll be up here. Run this thing, so I can't wait. My blood is flowing, with Wings on it. So let's go. Let's get this done.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week, Pat. Thanks very much.
See you, buddy. Go Wings.
That was Pat Bernard with the Wings Nest. Pretty awesome. I love watching Pat when he's
was in a good mood.
Explains so much. Absolutely. Well, we had the good. We've had the bad. Time for the ugly. And over comes the Wolves' Den. Let's bring on Keaton.
Listen, I already heard you don't need to go there. I went to the game. I already felt it. I'm not going to throw the headset because it's attached to the thing. And, I don't. This is $100. I'm not going to break this thing. Anyway,
He's lost for words here.
While you're gathering your thoughts, you may not throw your headset, but this segment's getting on the high blood pressure line. That's for sure.
Yeah.
High blood pressure. We're gonna just start with a very easy thing.
Yeah,
it looked like it was in hand. And allow me to put this up here. These pick'ems. That's the 1 in my 6-1. Of course.
Yeah, Gary.
So sad. So sad you didn't get your 7-0. Boo-hoo.
I'm looking at my gambling. That one kind of hurt.
That one hurt you.
That one kind of hurt. The Bet365 hurt. The who you got, with of course Jake and Evan. That one hurt.
and it hurt you. You know how much it hurt me?
Nowadays, when you want to swear at somebody, you just look at them and go, Dane Dobie.
Dane Dobie.
Dane Dobie. It's going to be like Mr. Burns and Homer Simpson for crying out loud. Dane Dobie.
Yeah.
Public enemy number 1 in Albany.
I see that man in my nightmares now. I'm gonna close my eyes and see Dane Dobie scoring goals.
I'm just curious. Where did the defense go when you started seeing him get on a run? I would have put 5 guys on him.
Yeah.
You know, the post game with Clark is up, and he really had nothing to say. I mean, honestly, after a performance like that, I mean, great for Calgary 2 weeks in a row. You know, last week a huge win against Halifax, 18-17 in overtime, and then a 13-12 overtime win against Albany. It's just he has no words, and honestly, I kind of agree. It's to a point of where do we go from that? Like, what do we
It's a
focus
learning
on?
experience. It happened early in the season. That's the good thing.
That yes,
It
and that's
happened in the playoffs. You watch something that has never happened before. It is record-setting, and we probably won't witness this again anytime soon, with any luck. But like I say, it just happens. That's the beauty of sport. And somebody gets on a roll. Now, would it make you feel better if you had 8 different scores?
you know that's what I think about.
It's more concerning than who got the goals to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coach wasn't happy about the effort in the end anyway. It was just a fact of how the defense ended. You know, they started off so strong, and I have it right here too. Obviously, there was 7 goals through the first period alone, 5 from Albany. After that, there was back-to-back 3-goal periods.
Right.
You saw a 2-1 from Calgary in the second, where they made it 6-4, and then Albany going into the fourth went up 8-5 in the 2-1 in the third. So it was besides the first and the fourth, it was a defensive powered game, and I'd even argue in the first it was a defensive minded game because Albany could have really ran away with it in the first. They were out shooting them, they were outplaying them, they completely dominated play, in my personal opinion, through the first quarter, and then Calgary found their game. They settled down, they settled in, and they relaxed, and it worked for them there. It went right from there, and it worked. And it worked perfectly. Obviously, it worked perfectly. They came back.
Right. Now, me personally, with Albany being a young team and an athletic team, would have run the older Calgary team or tried to run them into the ground. I would have spent my entire first half running laps. Even if I didn't score, I would have run them all over the place if they were still sucking wind 18 minutes into the second half. Kind of shocked watching the first half that it was as even as it was, and Albany really wasn't trying to push tempo. That's what worked against Toronto, was they were pushing tempo and having the Rock mistakes happen and capitalizing. And they really didn't or weren't allowed to, with a little bit more savvy of a defense. And, of course, you have a Troy Cordingley and Phil Sanderson on the bench as well as Josh Sanderson. So a little bit, cagey veteran players, coaches to try and, put up game plans.
Yeah, speaking of Sanderson, he's definitely happy to be back after the game, sitting in the conference room, and I hear him coming from the locker room screaming, "I'm effing back, Albany!" Playing for the Albany Attack back in the early 2000s, I think it was. So never got the chance to experience him there, but now coaching with Calgary. So I think he's definitely happy to be back. And in the same vein, so is Dane Dobie. I mean, was a part of that San Diego team that got knocked out by Albany last year in the playoffs. So he definitely felt happy about that game as well. And I mean, obviously it was a part of the whole revenge kind of thing. And obviously he wants to get back at them. I think we have one more contest against them later on in the season. So it's a revenge game now. Revenge is a mindset.
It's ironic though, because we were all looking for what Tyler Pace was going to bring because all week it was cryptic stuff from Josh Sanderson. Our offense is going to be better and this, that, and the other. And they signed Tyler Pace, re-sign him. And that's not the story. Dixon isn't the story. It's Doby. Jesse King's not the story. It's Doby. But again, if it were all those guys, would it make it feel any better? No. It's more of the growing pains of the Albany team. And these gaffes are going to happen. Let them happen now. Learn from them and don't let them happen again. And everything is smooth sailing.
I have the goals and assists marks for both of the teams here. And Pace put up 4 assists in that game back. So, I talked with Coach earlier before the game, as I like to try to do. And, talked about Pace. He mentioned Pace. I asked him about, you watched Dane Doby and you watched Curtis Dixon both put up 5 goals against Halifax in that comeback. And he's like, well, you mentioned those 2, but you also mentioned King. You mentioned Cook. You mentioned Pace. And it's 3 guys who all put up points. I mean, King, obviously 7 assists. Dixon with 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. Cook with 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists. And Pace at the 4 assists. Not to mention, Dane Doby's 8 goals in the 4th and overtime quarter.
Considering he had 0 points until the 4th quarter. I don't know. Somebody must have said something because that usually doesn't happen until somebody's gotten into your craw.
And he he felt like he wasn't, and he said he didn't felt like he was doing a whole lot. And then it came to a point of oh, no, the ball's in my stick. Now I just have gotten on a run. He went on a run, and it felt like the coach was giving him the ball. It's like it was a coach. Was it the players? Was it just anybody? Was it just give me the ball? No, it was just everything. It was just everything was going so perfectly well for him. And even on a night where Albany had 4 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4+ point scorers. Sam Firth with a goal and 3 assists. Ty Kurtz with a hat trick, 3 goals, 4 assists. Alex Simmons, 5 assists. Ethan Walker, 3 goals, 3 assists for the hat trick. And Eric Fennell with his first set of points in Albany for 5 assists. All those points combined, and Dane Doby just said that's all null and void because I'm Dane Doby.
Well, I've got one more stat for you, and you're not going to like it. And we've talked about it before. Is that Calgary went 5 for 6 on the power play, and Albany went, 1 for 5 on the power play.
That is what we saw last year too.
That is the stat that we've been talking about now for 2 seasons, and it seems to be the only chink in the armor on a consistent basis, the kryptonite, if you will. Because if they go 2 for 5, we don't go to overtime. If they go 3 for 5, Doby probably doesn't even get on that run. So that's really standing out to me because it's not a one-off. It's a consistent thing. Whereas if they're actually 3 for 5 or 3 for 6, that becomes news that we're talking about. So what can be done about that is the question that I have and that I would be bringing up the next time you're talking with Clarkey or any of the others. That special teams seems to be a consistent issue.
I was going to say, it's funny, just from what Gary's saying with the learning thing is, with all the winning that Albany's done, you still have to remember, this is a very young team.
Very.
Still. They're going to go through their bumps.
Sure.
It's good to get those bumps out at the start of the season. And like Gary said earlier on, it's good to get those bumps out at the start of the season. It's just 2 overtime losses at home against teams you should probably be beating. I mean, obviously, I know we all picked Albany. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did say watch out for Toronto because they went on the run against Halifax in a comeback, and they did it again. Now, who knows? Can you bet against them after Dane Doby performance like that? But the question is, like you said, what's the change? Where does the change go? And what do? Because they seem like they have a good mindset on what to do for the power play. I mean, the ball was being moved very well. They're moving the ball very well. They obviously are setting up behind the net, trying to get two players to converge on the guy behind the net to find shooters in the back. But obviously it's not working. It worked a little bit last season, but not enough. And it's definitely not working now. At this point, like we said last week, can we just like negate the penalty? I don't want them no more. I don't want the power play. I don't want it. Like they can have it. I'd score shorthanded. I'm fine. No more power play until we figure it out.
I also want to bring up another issue is, you have one of the best face-off men in the league, and we just talked about he had his 800th career face-off win. Yes, he did come out on top 17-12, but Justin Ignacio looked really good against a top-notch face-off man like a Joe Nardella, who trains these guys how to take face-offs. And, you're talking about close to 500 against one of the best. If that doesn't bring up the stock of an Ignacio, I don't know what will. And that's more or less out of the blue, because I really didn't expect him to have that kind of performance. But come down the stretch, that came in really handy, because that helped feed that run. Nardella wins a couple more of those faceoffs in the fourth, and Albany has possession. And whether they score or not, they chew clock. So again, it's little pieces like that that really go unnoticed in the score sheet that I tend to spend a lot of time trying to figure out. And these things are the things that stand out to me. Obviously turnovers and other things like that, and intercept and other mistakes, they come into play. But it's the ones that don't seem to make it and are not glaring that are the ones that multiply. It's death by 1,000 cuts, right? Not any one of those are going to hurt you severely. Put them together and one after the other, and there you are. And unfortunately, in this game, everything had to happen in sequence for it to work. And the lacrosse gods are awful funny that way. And sure enough, click, 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 and there it was, right? So I wouldn't hold my head down, and I don't think that Clarkie's message in the next practice during the week is okay. Here's what it is. What it is. Take it, learn from it, study the film, especially the fourth, and where the things went wrong from the face-off on outward, as well as positioning, because it's also setting picks and it's also doing the little things. When you take a look, we talked about the Buffalo game. Why has Buffalo been so successful? Is it because Dane Smith and Josh Burns solely? No. It doesn't hurt to have goal scorers that can score from anywhere, of course. But it's all the other things, the setting the picks. It's the defensive thing. You take a look. How big do you think it is in Buffalo that they picked up Dawson? Everybody thought, okay, he's at the end of his career. He just wants to be close to home. I think that was the thing that put him over the line last year to win the championship. I think this year he's playing with an edge like he was 10 years younger, like he was still with Rochester in that three-peat. He has that kind of streak on him right now, and you can see it in his eyes. And is he going to go and rush, back and forth? No, you got guys for that. But he is going to be one mean SOB when you're coming near the crease. And if you think he's going to be making many mistakes there, he's not. And guys around him, he only makes them better. So that's the thing with veteran leadership, as opposed to the guys who are still learning it. Albany's got probably the most talent in the league as young guys, but they're still susceptible to making those young guy errors. And we witnessed that Saturday. Now, as they grow throughout the year, this is the second year they're together. As they grow throughout the year, and as Clarkie has the chance to run with this, you're going to see that a lot less. Whereas waves might be like this right now, they'll be more like this as the season goes along to ripples. When that happens, then we got something.
You know, I want to go back to talking about Nardella before I continue on that. Let's look at 2 years ago. When Nardella was hurt, Albany was at bottom of the league. You know, that without the season without Nardella gets them Dyson. So that's part of that one part. Year he's back, they go to the NLL finals. So I mean, obviously having Nardella is wonderful. It's beautiful. He is arguably maybe the best face-off man in the league right now. And like you said, it's great to be in a learning space under Nardella. It's just great to have a guy like that as a part of the team.
Yep.
But I want to talk about veteran presence, like you were talking about. You know, that's one of the big things of why we picked up Eric Fennell. Talked to Coach about that. That's one reason why, obviously, he's a big body like that. But it's good to have that veteran presence. It's good that, you know, he's been around for a while. He knows what's going on with the league. He knows how to win, how to play, how to, you know, teach these younger guys. I kind of wonder, going towards a push in for the playoff run, if they're going to acquire another veteran type guy, another veteran defense, veteran transition type guy to, you know, help teach, help these players learn the game and get better, because like we always say, it's a very young Albany team, and veteran presence will not help in any case, shape, or form. Obviously, they have some great vets on the team right now. Colton Watkinson, the captain, Captain Colt. You obviously have Eric Fennell, John Wagner, just some names to be named.
Yeah, I agree. But like I say, as the season goes on, watch how these gaps happen less and less. That's the beauty of the learning curve. I don't be surprised if some of the guys who are sitting left press box, who are NLL caliber, should be in the lineup every day, don't get moved for veteran presence things coming down the stretch. Because if that's the piece that's missing, then that's the piece that needs to come in. Because you know what you're up against. You played them last year. And, you know, you did a fine job last year. However, they're chomping at the bit for that three-peat. And Matt Vince is looking at making history that has never happened. He is doing three-peat with two different teams. So if you don't think there's a lot of incentive there, and why they're all got their napkins around their neck and fork and knife in hand, there it is.
And we're right there. We're the dog at the bottom of the table, waiting for those table scraps to fall, waiting for our one opportunity to say, "You ain't looking, all right? I'm gonna jump on the table, take a hot dog. It's your fault. You're stupid. You weren't looking. Now it's my hot dog."
I think of all the teams in the league, Albany is still sitting there as the best alternative right now. But how do they measure the growth? That's where I'm looking, and it's up to them. It really is in their court right now. It's how they take a loss like this, where everything fell apart at the end, and you can learn from it, or you can go and, you know, crumble with it. So now we're going to look at, you know, we've always talked about this, character, not characters. Now it comes down to the character of the Firewolves team to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, say that was a one-off, and get back to business. Take it, learn from it, look at the tapes, and then put that into the back drawer and get on with business. You don't want to sit there and hound on it all week, and you don't want to sit there and, you know, midway through a game go, it's happening again, because that doesn't do any good. You take the lessons from it, you move on, and you work and game plan it. And you also take a look at all the little things we talked about here that can lead and take that little pebble and make it into that big snowball down the hill, right? If you can eliminate that, then you're set.
You know, it's crazy, because that's kind of exactly how Corky explained the end of the game. It's just like a boulder going down a hill, and it just kept going and going and going and going. And he was like, "Yeah, I saw this happening. You push a rock down the hill, it's just going to continue to roll and get bigger and bigger, picking up more and more steam until, you know, crashes right through the wall." And that's what certainly it did.
Yeah. And while you're helpless, while you're watching it come at you. Yeah. But like I say, it's character. It's what you do with that result is the character that I'm looking at. So, anyways, it's a one-off. It's a one-off. Cost me a bit of money, but hey.
You know, if I could go back in time, oh boy, howdy, I would just make sure you certainly get your 7-0.
You know,
Christmas
is in a week, right?
Listen, we get a rest, we get a week off, I get to relax and come back into it 2 weeks. Halifax. And that's the look at Halifax.
And that Halifax team is licking their wounds big time.
Should I be saying that every time that Marshall Palace is in the lineup, they win?
I mean, hey. I love Marshall. He's a great player.
I love Marshall. I think he's a great guy, period. He's just a lot of fun.
Great guy. Another great guy, at the start of the game, I was hoping that they were going to hit their points, but they sadly didn't. I have him right here. Somewhere am I? Yeah, there it is. So coming into the game, Travis Longboat 8 points away from 100 career points. Mm-hmm. So no points tonight. He's going to be hitting that. And Colton Watkinson is also 10 points away from 100. So, you know, those guys getting close to that 100-point mark. You had Simmons hit it in the first game of the season. So I think we're going to see a lot of those guys this year hit it again.
Right. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to see I wouldn't want to be Albany's next opponent. And Halifax, you know, good luck, because you're going to get one pissed off group.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be interesting. But thank you, Caden. You took it on the chin like a champ.
Oh, boy, I will say the ride home was just... That was something. Just everything, you know, it's a lot better sitting back on it because, you know, it's third game of the season. But just watching that goal go in after watching Dane Dobie did what he did, I was like, it was so deflating. The arena, dropped, like, it was so quiet.
You haven't seen deflated, man. I flew home from Edmonton after the Rock lost to the Edmonton Rush.
Yeah.
The last minute goal. So, yeah. Deflated. I've seen it.
And you mentioned crowd sizes. Week 1, Albany brought in 48,83, which is a pretty good number for opening week. You know, and you were saying it for every game. Don't look at numbers too deeply because it's Christmas. It's coming up on Christmas, so don't be surprised. Albany put up 38-31 this week.
Which isn't bad still in this time,
not.
a week out from Christmas with all the parties and all the other things to do. I'm not surprised. The NLL has to come around this one because it's going to be like this as long as they're going to have it falling into Christmas. Now, after Christmas, you watch the week between Christmas and New Year's. If people aren't all on a cruise somewhere, that's when they're going to be coming in.
January 4th is the first game for the Firewolves at home after their little road stretch and after the holiday season, where they will take on Vegas in the nice, beautiful New York cold in January. And yes, Philly's bad, but oh boy. Oh,
hey, made it Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan, they go to your stuff in t-shirts.
Yeah. That's bathing suit weather.
Absolutely. Bathing suit weather, like tank tops, shorts, flip-flops. What are we talking about?
Oh yes. I've been to Saskatchewan in February. Yes. It's a whole different kind of cold.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to worry about wind. It's just darn cold. You know, minus 25 is just an easy thing. You know?
What? That's normal, right? That's normal.
It is there.
This here. You need the minus 25 plus the wins, so it feels like minus 40. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you throw around ice snowballs
Yep.
because you don't need these things here. You just
I'm just hoping that it freezes over well enough that I can just skate a little bit on the pond this year. That's all I'm hoping for.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling.
So I look at that Vegas Albany game at home for a big comeback from the fans, especially after a 2-week hiatus and 2 weeks to really market to the people. I feel like it would be back to those week 1 numbers, maybe a bit higher.
I think so, and everybody's going to be absolutely chomping at the bit to go catch some lacrosse because marketed correctly, it's a great atmosphere. And I've been at the Albany atmosphere, and it is a great little place there. And I love it. The whole complex, from parking right on in, everything is easy. Everything is easy. Really great setup. And
hopefully we'll see you again this year. I don't know if Toronto takes a trip down.
I don't think they do, but if I can make it out there just to make it out there, I will. Yeah, I tend to do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
My cars have a lot of miles on them. Anyways, Caden, thank you very, very much. If you're going to come on to the show next week and talk about some of the other stuff, you're welcome. If not, we wish you the best of the holiday season. But I have a feeling you'll be talking about a game or two of something.
Absolutely. I'll definitely try to get on. I know I do work on a beautiful Sunday next week, which, oh God, I don't want to do that. But, we ball.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
All righty. I'll let you go, and thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Take it easy. That was Caden Valent over with the Albany Den, the Wolves Den, which was a little bit meek at the end. But anyways, there's worse things in life, This, as long as they take it as a learning experience, they're going to be all the stronger for it. Get these things in now, and that's it. What's that, Shawn?
I was going to say, you talk about taking on the chin. It's not about taking the hits, picking yourself back up and get back in the fight, right?
Yeah, that's it. And plus, Mike Tyson said it best, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? So let's see how they react, because they just took it in the chin. So, alrighty. Why don't we head over to Vancouver? Vancouver looked good. Well, they didn't look good to start, but they did look good, and they did come out with a 10-7 win. Keegan Ball's hat trick leads the way for the Warriors win. Lanchbury and Smith, that Hattie's in the loss.
Yeah, and Lanchbury and Smith were about all the offense that Rochester had. They did have a 4-2 lead at the half, but Vancouver had a 6-goal third period to kind of take control of the game. Led in that third period by, of all people, their top draft pick, number 4 overall, Jonathan Peshko, got his first career NLL goal to start the quarter and then close the quarter with his second goal. He finished with 2 goals and an assist. As mentioned before, Keegan Ball had a hat trick. Jeff Cornwall also had 2 goals, the last being an empty netter with a few seconds left in the game to kind of ice it. Ryan Martell had 4 assists. Reed Bowering had a goal.
Question for you, Mike.
What's that?
Where do you think it went wrong for Rochester? Because everything looked good at the half. 4-2. They looked like they were sailing. Their defense was solid.
Yeah. You might even say the end of the second half. They took an illegal substitution penalty, and that led to Peshko's first goal.
Mm-hmm.
And Vancouver went 4 of 8 on the power play in the game.
That 8 power plays,
so
could make a difference.
Yeah, that could be part of the reason.
That's a good. Yeah, and I'd say the other bright spot, Alex Stathakis, 15 to 20 on the faceoffs.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So
there's your diamond in the rough. Bang, right there.
Yeah. So Rochester fared pretty well themselves when they had a power play. They were 3 of 6. So, as we said, Lanchbury, 3 goals and an assist. Ryan Smith had 3 goals. That's good to see from him because he was pretty much shut out last week against Buffalo. Connor Fields, only 2 assists. McConvey, just 3 assists. Josh Medeiros had his first goal as a Nighthawk in transition, shorthanded even. So, yeah, I mean, Hutchcraft faced a lot of shots again. So, maybe a little bit of concern about just the Rochester defense kind of taking something out of Philly's playbook from last year, where they're just letting an awful lot of shots get through. So
I think one of the unsung things here is just how good the defense. Rob Williams made the adjustments at the half, and how good the defense came out in the second half and just stifled Rochester. It started out fairly normal, but it got more and more tight as the second half went along, and Rochester never had a sniff in the fourth. They never really had an opportunity to get rolling. And
yeah, shut out in the fourth, and yeah, I mean, I'd say the defense maybe is starting to gel, just starting to come together.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have a few new pieces, obviously, guys like Jeff Cornwall coming to the team, and of course Stathakis, and then you also have Braden Lady's entering his second year, but same as Owen Grant, but I think they're really really starting to come together,
right,
and just I think that's just they know they know that collapse from 2 weeks ago just it just shouldn't have happened, so, and I think this time they made sure that it didn't. Made it a point to kind of keep that focus in the second half.
Well, we're back to what I was saying with Albany. It's taking those hits and learning, and not laying down and letting them get into your craw and affecting how you play. It's taking a lesson from it and using it. And Vancouver showed here that not only did they take the lesson and learn from it, but they were able to apply it and maybe even use it as fuel. Because they were down 4-2 at the half. But really, when they got themselves all straightened away, and whatever the halftime message was, whether it goes into their character or whether it goes into their abilities or whatever, they got themselves straightened away. And once they did, they're the what I expected from them from the beginning.
Yep. And
if they're going to do this week in and week out, they become a part of the equation again as well. Because they're also a team that, hasn't been together that long. So as they're gelling, as you mentioned, as they gel, that's going to be a huge, huge step forward in playing some of these other games upcoming.
And gelling with a lot of veterans too, right? I mean, with Albany, there's going to be a learning curve, but that learning curve might be a little more steeper just because you got younger guys. Where once you start gelling with this, there's not as much of a steeper learning curve. These guys know what they need to do.
Right.
Yeah, and they have a good mix of veterans with guys like Beers, Dilks, Mitski, Cornwall, Charbonneau. We've all been in the league for a good long time.
If Crowley can get Cormier, and get him under his wing, pardon that pun. But if we can get that way, boy, oh boy. You've already got all that raw talent. And if you can get them acclimated and accustomed to the NLL way of things, look out.
Yep.
All right, let's move forward. The next game on there is the Seals. San Diego wins. They take Colorado down 14-11. Berg's 4 goals lead the way in that rivalry victory.
Yeah, and this is a lone meeting, so San Diego kind of has that tiebreaker on Colorado and doesn't have to see him again. So,
What that does also is it takes all that steam that Colorado is building, and there it goes. Now they got to try and rebuild that again, because now you can take a look and see when you have a formidable opponent. All the things we were talking about, all those pluses, aren't always pluses. So I still think Dylan Ward put together a great performance. That's a real big time, offense that he had to face. So, but like we'd all taken a look at, it's just there's so many waves that San Diego been throwing them. And when Westberg is on, that there's not many things he's going to be missing. Right. So,
right.
But again, down the stretch, once this team has played, 16, 17 games, if they don't pace themselves, this is going to become a problem. Because what's the average age on there? 30?
It's on the higher side.
Yeah.
Right.
It's up there. It's up there with Toronto and Buffalo, and so.
Right, but Toronto and Buffalo have a lot of games where they're not doing a whole lot of traveling to.
True.
That's the difference in the East. When you're coming out of San Diego where there's nothing close to you and everything is a plane flight, that gets a bit weary. Even, a lot of their guys are from Ontario. So everything is a plane flight, unless they're playing here in Toronto or playing Buffalo. But any of the others, you go to Georgia, then you go to San Diego, then you go to Vancouver, then you go to Calgary, you're flying all over the place. So that starts catching up midway through the year. But again, some of the things you take a look at, Kyle Jackson had a big night. He had 3 goals. Zach Currier had a big night, 2 goals, 2 assists. Rob Hellier, steady as always. Of course, we talked about Westberg with 4 goals, 3 assists. Ryan Benesh, he looked fairly ordinary. He still had 3 assists, but he looked fairly ordinary this week, right? If a couple of these guys have that fairly ordinary thing at the same time, then we have the what happened? Scratch.
Yep.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet. It's still week 3, right? But, it can happen easily. The Christmas break will be good for everybody. But, if they start getting into that where you have 5 games in 4 weeks, then what? They're going to happen. It's a natural way of things.
Yeah. Well, the Seals do play next week, so they've got the rematch with Georgia. So that's going to be
right. Now, also a concerning thing is Wrigley Early faced 43 shots. So it's only about a 750 save percentage. 11 goals in 32 saves. So to me, that's not oh my God, he stole the show numbers.
Yeah.
So it may be an unpopular opinion. West, he's still I've seen him play great this year, and I've seen him play mediocre, and this one's kind of in between the two of them. So to get to that Bob Watson, Matt Vince, Dallas Eliak level, that has to be here to here.
See the high level consistency.
Yeah,
exactly.
Every week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when the upper teams come in, then what? Do you get lit up like a Christmas tree? And then, of course, the goalie that's behind you, Mike Poulin, Hall of Fame goalie. But Poulin's been around since what, 2000?
Let's face it, these passes probably basically semi-retired.
Well, yeah, he's one of the 2 goaltending coaches. Now,
Yeah.
that's a hell of a tandem with Bob Watson and Mike Poulin as your goaltending coaches. But, if something goes wrong, as we saw in week 1, it took only a little bit to get him back right. But still, there is still that tendency. He's still very young.
Yeah, and just looking ahead at their schedule, week 5 they're off, and then week 6 they host Ottawa, and week 7 they're at Vancouver. So things
Right.
definitely. Colorado does get maybe a chance to reset next week, though. They host Halifax, so.
Right. Well, like I say, it's just interesting, and I'm more curious about how this all plays out because again, we have such different dynamics with different teams. You know, you're taking a look. We're talking Albany, and they're young. You're looking at Calgary, and it's the veteran leadership they got in the win because they didn't panic. You take a look at someone like Toronto, really put together a pretty good game. We'll talk about that in a minute. And, you know, then you look at San Diego, who went with all veterans. And, you know, guys who are on the edge of not being in their prime. But if they all work together, if they can put it together for a full season, they easily can go all the way to face the Bandits in what might be called the Geritol Bowl. But, you know, take a look at the Bandits. Do they look like they lost a step? No. So if they can put it together and if they believe and if they can stay healthy, the Seals are another one that are in the top 4. And the first couple of weeks have done nothing to sway me from that idea that they will be in the top 4. But again, the big but is how do they react in the second half of the season? That's what's caught them in the last couple of years. You know, whether you want to say it's this or that or the other, a lot of it has to do with them being run down, hence injuries. Hence guys being out of the lineup because of injuries, and then that affects the rest of the team, puts more strain on the team, creates other injuries. Again, it's the stuff that we don't see on the paper all the time. You know, sometimes you have to do a little bit of extra addition and subtraction and a little bit of the math to why things are the way they are. It's not all black and white and strictly to the numbers. Well, he didn't have a good game and that's why. No, why? Because this guy, and this guy who feed him are hurt. And this guy got hurt because he was doing what these other 2 guys were doing because they were out 2 weeks earlier. That's the reason. Or these guys are all tired now because they had to do twice as much because the other guys were doing. These are the factors that come in and that I'm curious about later on in the season. Just little things like that. But right now they look good, you know, and they're able to put up a lot of numbers. Hellier looks like he's been a part of that group for years, doesn't he? He just fits right in.
Right in.
You know, him and Berg that's a power play you don't want to face. You just don't want to take that penalty because you take a look, it comes from everywhere. You know, you got Benesh, you know, and if he has an off night like this one and they still pull out a 3-goal victory over a strong team. Wow. Let alone Jackson, you know, having a good night. It's in waves. And if those waves can stay healthy, then look out. Yeah. All right, let's keep moving. Of course, Georgia, another team that I thought was going to be big. This one surprised me because I thought Georgia was going to do a lot more than they did here. And I got to give credit where credit's due. And I've been all over Toronto. You know, I can't call myself a homer because I've been all over their offense. I've been all over their defense. And yes, they've had injuries, but injuries are in the defense, not the non-existent offense. Lyle Thompson leads the way with 3 goals, 2 assists, including the game-winning thing to outduel the Rock. Now, there were a number of things in this game. The first half looked an awful lot like, the Rock I've been watching for the first couple of weeks. There wasn't a whole lot of interest. There wasn't a whole lot of inside anything. Defense looked a little stronger with Brad Cree in there, but still making mistakes, still taking undisciplined penalties. The Desnu thing, he took a double minor which included the penalty, unsportsmanlike, and then he couldn't shut up and took a 10-minute misconduct. When you're coming off winning the Defensive Player of the Year, they need you on the floor. Yeah, we can get somebody else to sit in the box. Thanks. You need to zip it, and you being a veteran need to zip it. The extra words aren't gonna. You're not gonna win an argument, and the referee's gonna look at you. You're right. Sorry, I take the penalty back. Zip it as much as you want to get it in the middle of the game. Of course, Georgia got a power play goal and a shorthanded goal in that first half. 6-3 at the half. And again, didn't look very interesting. Not a lot of inside stuff. However, the 3 goals that they scored, 2 of those 3 were from the inside. And Josh Dawick again. Chris Boucher also. I got to give it credit. Aaron Woods was all over the crease too. He looked like he belonged in that lineup. So if there's a bright spark to the new thing, they sat Marley Angus and they put Aaron Woods in and paid dividends. We go into the second half, and Toronto actually made the adjustments. I guess they realized that inside is where they're doing. They went a whole lot more inside, and this game became a lot closer. In fact, the defense started looking like defense of old, shutting down Georgia. They outscored them 3-1 in the third quarter, and it was a 1-goal game. Early on in the fourth, they tied it. Georgia did take the lead again, 8-7. Now here's where things get weird. Toronto scores, and I believe it was Aaron Woods. The goal was waved off. Georgia goes down the other end, scores. Toronto challenges. Now, I've looked at this video 100 times. Even on a broadcast, they're saying you can see that it's the Georgia foot that's on the crease and the Toronto guy is outside the crease. Yet, they come back after review and call it inconclusive, and the Georgia goal scores. Well, that in spades turns the momentum of the game, as well as the game that would have been tied is now a 2-goal difference. So if you want your TSN turning point, that was it right there. And for the life of me, I've watched it again and again and again and again till I'm blue in the face. And I can't see what's inconclusive about it, other than the response to me was, but anyways. Toronto actually puts it together and pulls up their socks, and with 4 minutes left, ties up the game. And when the game is on the line, shouldn't you be looking for the ball going to one of two, either Andrew Q or Lyle Thompson? Well, didn't it go to Lyle Thompson? Did he not turn his defenseman inside out and fired a beautiful shot to the short side where Rose's leg was about this far away from the post? And and it went. With 1 minute left. Toronto did make another attempt, and Brett Dobson was there and made a beautiful play, and then made another beautiful play to get the ball up the floor. And that killed out the clock. And, Toronto is now 0-3. Georgia wins a nail-biter. But to take away things from this game, one, Georgia didn't walk all over Toronto like I expected. I thought that lineup really could do some damage to a really depleted Rock defense. And they didn't. Rose looks solid. Does he look like goaltender of the year from last year? No. But did he cost him this game? No. Enthusiastic things are that Toronto was able to make adjustments and looked a lot better. They had, their transition game, though it didn't really do all that much, it did score, and it, came alive, which is something I haven't seen much of this year either. Jake Darlison in his first NLL game was sent in transition off a long lead pass from Nick Rose, and looked like he's been doing it his whole life. with beautiful goal. So, there are a lot of things that are positives. Dan Craig got on the scoreboard. Corey Small had a decent game. The guys who have been silent, who need to be leading. The only one he was doing a lot of setup, a lot of quarterbacking, but the shots just, to me, just didn't work. But hopefully that one gets rectified. They have a week off, and when they face Ottawa in Mississauga in 2 weeks, that's where it needs to be. Chris Boucher had a really good game, with goals and with energy and being Chris Boucher of old. So there's a lot of things that I take from this game that I am enthusiastic about the Rock performance. And with a couple more weeks back, hopefully Schreiber comes back. Hopefully Rogers is back in the lineup by that point. Erlin, who knows? That obviously is a long-term injury. But, there's a lot of upside to what's going on. And I really like what I saw with Woods and with Darlison. So these are all positives to take out of it. And again, week 3, yes, it's 0-3. But, Mike, you made the point there, 10-8 will get you in the playoffs. It did last year. Yes, that means you have to rhyme off 10. Well, Toronto rhymed off, 15 out of 18 last year with this lineup. So it's possible.
Yeah, I mean,
You start with 1. If we can beat Ottawa, then you worry about Buffalo on the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say just, last year we saw, a 9-9 team get in. We saw an 8-10 team get in and beating out, 4 other 8-10 teams. I don't know that I'm too worried yet about the teams on the bottom. Like you said, with one less team, that means there's one less team you got to leapfrog from the bottom to get into the playoffs. I would ask, and I know we haven't talked about Halifax yet, but, we've got 3 winless teams now after 3 weeks of play. Halifax is 0-2, Toronto 0-3, Vegas 0-3. I would ask, who do you have the most confidence in of those 3 teams to potentially make the playoffs? Even if they, let's say, we set that cutoff at 5, any team that, goes beyond 0-5 probably has no chance.
Right.
That's tough.
I don't have a whole lot of faith in Vegas, to tell you the truth.
I was going to say, that's the one team I don't have faith in is Vegas. I could see Halifax or Toronto turning it around. I mean, Halifax has lost 2 in overtime, so it's not like they've looked terrible other than blowing big leads. And if Toronto, we know what they can do. They can straighten everything out.
Yeah. And they looked like they were, in my opinion, this should have been a W. That call that I talked about goes the other way, and it's a tie game. And then Toronto puts together a couple more because they have the momentum, like they did anyways without the momentum. They were definitely taking it to Georgia in that second half. So, I think Ottawa's going to see an entirely different team than the mess that they saw in week 1. And if they think they're not, they're mistaken. So I think once they get that first win and relax a little bit, because now, of course, they're getting it from everywhere. Right? They're getting it from home. They're getting it from the fans. And that's not healthy. But the team still is the team, and luckily it's been around together so they can persevere. And it's not like they just threw them together, 3 weeks ago or a month ago. And, all of a sudden it's going to be the infighting. That's not happening. That's not this group. So I look for them to build from what we just saw. And like I say, they have a lot of faith in themselves, and that's what they keep saying in all their messages. And, also enthusiastically, as I'm watching Josh Dawick become a real NLLer. He's doing everything. He's setting picks. He's got the outside shot. He's now inside a lot, diving across the crease. He's doing what Lindner used to do. And if they're getting that kind of production out of him, he becomes a very valuable piece. Again, another one that I wasn't expecting, not like that. And there's somebody who, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the GM in, 15 years on this team. He's not going free agency somewhere else.
Right.
So it'll, that's one that, again, if he's going to become that upper echelon player, you can start building around him unexpectedly. Now you get Schreiber back and you get Rogers back who can come out the front door. The offense has a whole new look to it. You get Rogers back and you get Latrell Harris back, and the transition game has a whole new look to it. So it's just a couple of tinkering pieces, but those are huge pieces. And it affects everything about the game. So, just my 2 cents on that. I agree with what Ashley Docking said is, chill. We don't have to send oh my God, the sky's falling. It's not. It's not. Is it into a dire situation? Close. But I've also watched Toronto go 0-8 to start the season. I've also watched Georgia go 0-7 or 0-8 to start a season and almost salvage things. We're not anywhere near there. So everybody needs to kind of comment, let the guys do what they do. Unless you're planning on picking up a stick and helping out by scoring 3 goals in the game, kick back, relax, enjoy. We should do it. Until you're on the payroll, we shouldn't be doing anything. I'll let these guys figure it out. They have a lot more years in it. And with that kind of talent, I don't put them away from anything yet. However, a loss to Ottawa and it goes 0-4, then we start looking at, the noose is starting to go. Yep. Then options become a little bit more severe and difficult because they've went youth with the veteran thing because they know that the veterans are going sooner or later. So they're trying to sprinkle in the youth now where you're going to have to go with more youth. What's happened right away is with injuries, now you have an influx of a lot of youth. So you become, one of those teams that are just kind of trying to feel it. So with injuries coming back, that's where it all comes. So until they have their full lineup in there, calm, because getting all, oh my God, isn't helping anything. It's just annoying, and it just, everybody has an opinion. Is it right? Is it wrong? Who knows? Who cares? But, kick back, enjoy the ride. Every team is going to go through the ups and downs. Get it out of the way first, and then sit and enjoy and watch other teams do it. All right, let's move on. That's enough talking about that. We have a win in Saskatchewan, and we have a Toronto West win in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
As you've put it to me very gently.
Yeah. Talked about Mark Matthews, how you like that offense with the Zach Mans.
Yeah. Between Zach Mans and, Levi Anderson.
Yeah. I know we're running along, but there's a lot to unpack in this game, too. So you just have to bear with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, I believe it was Holden Garland said it in the post game, which again we have on our YouTube. This rush team can run for days, and that's exactly what happened here. Is they actually, and he said it, they knew Halifax was getting gassed in that second half, and they knew that the rush knew that they could just keep running, and they just wore them down. And something went off with Zach Mans. I guess let's start in the third period. Between whistles, Rubber Church just takes a nasty cross check to the back, goes down. Derek Keenan did confirm after the game it's a high ankle sprain. He's going to be doubtful for next week. Doesn't know the severity of it yet, but yeah, that can be weeks weeks of recovery. So they could be without a key piece in that offense. But I mean, Rush were down at the half 6-2. Dawson Theed scores his fourth in the third to make it a 7-2 game. Zach Mans hits his first goal, 7-3 game. Fourth quarter, Robinson scores. Halifax up by 5 early in the fourth. Cue Zach Mans. 4 straight goals. Yeah, looking like Dane Doby. And now we have a 1-point game. Levi Anderson, with his first National Lacrosse League goal, ties up this game and sends it into overtime.
Beautiful coach dive at that.
Yeah, and I talked to Derek Keenan about that. And he said, you know what? He's still learning this offense, but that was just an athlete making an athletic play.
Yep.
And just seeing that guy live, I mean, like I told you guys, he's built like a linebacker. Like, I would not want to get in that guy's way.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
So then we head to overtime. And we go nearly half of overtime without a goal. I mean, that's the story of the game. It was a pretty low-scoring game as it was. Both Shiliano and Hill played lights out. And, you know, for any naysayers with Shiliano, I mean, that's 2 straight games now where he's actually played really, really well. But in that extra frame, Mitch Wild takes a slashing call and puts Rush on the power play. And as I talked to Zach after the game, he said he went up to Jimmy Quinlan and said, put me out there, get me an open shot. I'm ending this. That's what he did. They got him an open shot. He picked the corner. Game over.
Right.
So, and like I said, you know, all those goals that second half came off that Mark Matthews trade from Toronto with Levi Anderson, Zach Mans.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
and how many goals has Mark Matthews had this year?
Let me count on one hand. There you go.
Yeah. So some of the things I just want to point out here, at least on the Rush side, on the defensive end, Jake Boudreau, 21 loose balls.
Wow.
Mike Messenger, 10 loose balls. Matt Hossack, 10 loose balls and 4 caused turnovers.
Wow.
This defense is just eating everything up.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then let's go to the faceoff dot where you have Jake Withers back for Halifax. Jake Nasso goes 12 for 21 and out duels. Probably one of the best in the league.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Rush admittedly said they had a terrible, terrible first half, but when they can turn it on, we saw what can happen, even without Robert Church.
Yeah, that was a weird one too. Him going down, no call on that.
Yeah.
Another interesting little thing. The league is going to be busy this week with its officiating crews. So,
yeah, and even like I'll be honest, just not to be the homer too, but even that slashing call in overtime, maybe it was a slashing call, but I don't know if that's something you would make at
would
that
you be
point
calling
in the
that
game.
in the finals? Overtime. That's the thing. If we're looking at consistencies. And we keep talking about consistency and we're looking to do this and consistencies. That's all we're looking for. But, you also have to know when and what, right? What's over the line. So, if it's a blatant call, they got to make it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be there going, why wasn't it called?
Yeah.
So,
But just kind of going back to things, I mean, again, going back to Zach Mans, when he's going to the coach and saying, just give me the ball, I'm going to win this. Like, how much confidence is he working with right now? Just knowing that, just get the ball in my hands, I'm going to put it in.
12 shots on net, 8 points, 6 of them are goals. That's impressive.
Well, Derek was saying I don't think he had one shot in the first half, and then just everything just drops in the second.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with the injury to Church, it might beg the question. If you're Saskatchewan, what do you do? Do you go out looking for? We talked about how many good players are on the street right now, and just I'm just going to throw some names out there of some righty forwards if they think they want to sign a righty forward off the street. You got Callum Crawford, you got Dan Lintner, you got Josh Courier, you got Nathaniel Kazevnikov, who you could bring back.
A lot of those guys you talked have already been on that roster before. I mean,
I'm just curious why nobody's picked up Stephen Keogh.
That's another one.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think about Toronto for that one, to tell you the truth.
And I apologize, I don't know what side he's on right now, but you still have Zawada sitting on the practice roster.
Mm-hmm.
He's a righty, so
he's a righty. Yeah.
So you just promote him, or, I mean, is it worth it for them to just ride and just play lefty heavy the next, let's say, 3-4 games?
Right.
You're gonna have Mans, and you're gonna have Keenan, and either Anderson or Clark Walter.
Well, and Walter was a healthy scratch this game, too. So you keep that in mind as well. Yeah.
Right.
So, and I think I'm missing a lefty on that side too, right? So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the depth chart in front of me either. But
I think Saskatchewan has a big test this week coming because they're going to be going into Rochester, so that's going to be a bigger test, I think. That's a quicker team. That's a team that's going to test them offensively and defensively.
Yeah,
so this is a pretty good litmus test, right there. In fact, I think
might be getting a little desperate after dropping 2 after winning there.
Yeah. There's that one, and there's the Georgia San Diego game. There are games that have circled as games of the week.
Yeah.
Halifax, Colorado, Philadelphia, Vegas, but those.
Well, that's what I was going to look at. Is looking at Halifax on the other side. Like, where do you sit now? You've blown 2 big leads in 2 straight games.
Yeah.
Like, where's the issue there?
Well, they are retooling, and it's about getting together again because, again, there's a lot of pieces that are missing that were there. And, yeah, you can rely on Clark Peterson, and you can rely on Theed. But there's still, Randy Stotts as well. But you're missing, with Banesh not there, that was the centerpiece on this thing. As well as a couple other things. Having Tyson Bell on the injury reserve also took a real hit into the transition and defense. Because, again, just like when Latrell Harris is out with a rock, between the speed that Tyson Bell has and the mean streak that he has as well, everybody is honest around the net. And if you can take that liberty because he's not in the lineup, that one hurts. Withers, I can put that to maybe be a bit of rust, and he'll probably be that much more cunning.
Yeah.
On the face-off dot next game.
Yep.
So,
but I give Jacob Nassau a lot of credit. Like, even he battled. There were some real epic battles with him and Withers.
Yeah.
The other night there. Like,
there's a lot of up-and-coming guys that we haven't really seen too much of that are coming into the league as face-off guys, but they're also as defensive guys. They're not just Fogos. And that's the new sign of the times.
Yeah. Because I know, like Derek, I mentioned before, Derek usually doesn't like the Fogo type guy. And we did talk about it a little bit after the pre-game or post-game too. Derek saying, like, he's actually doing well, kind of learning the system on defense as well, and coming around to play on the floor as well, taking face-offs.
That's big because that'll keep him on the lineup.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's leave it there. Interesting week. We have a much lighter week next week. There's only 4 games heading into Christmas. Again, like we said, Philadelphia, Vegas. If you are a insomniac, that is 10:30 Eastern. So Pat's post-game show is going to be at 2:00 in the morning. So if you can't sleep, 2 a.m.
Get your coffee going, yeah.
game, or if you're a early worker, you can check it out on your way to work. On the Saturday, there's 3 games: Saskatchewan, Rochester, Halifax, Colorado, and Georgia, San Diego. And that's it. And say ALL's only got 2 games next weekend as well. So we're ramping down to Christmas. But we will be on next Sunday covering everything that is going on, and trying to help figure out what's going on with some of these things. And there should be a number of little bits of tidbits of news from the teams, because they've had 3 weeks to have a look and see what's going on and what's not going on. So should be interesting. Remember, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Thread. You can find us on YouTube. Please give a look. Please give a like. Please give a follow. Facebook, please come back 3, 4, 5 times a day, because the news is always changing, and we have our fingers on the pulse of that situation, and we will be up to date with everything going on as quickly as we know it. We will have it up to you. Last words, guys, for the week. Shawn, let's start with you.
Yeah, a lot of exciting games this week. Shorter week this week, and like you said, smaller crowds this week. I know in Saskatchewan there's a pretty small crowd as well. One of the smallest they've had since moving, but hey, it's around this time of year. It'll get better.
Absolutely. Mike, last words to you.
I just look forward to next week. Happy that I'm over 500 in pick'ems.
Just
gonna throw that out there.
Those little victories, yeah.
Absolutely. We're gonna resurrect the Muffler Mike fan club for this. They'll have signs with the numbers as they go along. My word to everybody is relax. We're still early on in the season. Midway, then it's time to panic. Relax. If your team isn't 3-0, don't worry. If your team is 3-0, enjoy it. If you're in the middle of the bunch, relax. Everything is going to find its way to whichever way it's supposed to go. And we have great minds. We're lucky because we got the greatest players in the world and the greatest minds in the world to figure it all out. So just chill and enjoy the season. And until next week, remember, keep your sticks high and keep your spirits higher. Have a great week. And until we meet again, we will see you next week.